By the time you reach my age, you learn that the best soldiers you ever served with rarely announce themselves. They didn't need to. Their actions spoke in a language louder than any words, clearer than any credentials, more honest than any uniform could ever be. This is the story of the best soldier I never knew I had, and the good man who died because I was too blind to see her. Prologue, the classroom. Fort Benning, Georgia. Present, the year 2029. The morning sun cuts through the windows of classroom Delta 7 like it has every morning for the past 40 years. Dust particles hang suspended in the light, moving with the slow patience of old ghosts. 40 faces stare back at me from 40 folding chairs, all of them young enough to be my children. Some of them my grandchildren. I am Colonel Jake Harrison now, 42 years old, gray touching my temples where it never used to be. A purple heart scar running down my left forearm where an IED fragment found me in Helmand Province 3 years after the story I'm about to tell you. The scar tissue pulls tight when the weather changes. Today it pulls tight not because of weather, but because of memory. The students wait, Ranger School candidates, every one of them. The best of the best, or so they think. They will learn otherwise in the coming weeks. Pain has a way of teaching humility that no classroom ever could. But today I teach a different lesson. I place both hands on the podium. The wood is worn smooth by 1,000 instructors before me, all of them carrying their own stories, their own scars, their own dead. I wonder if any of them carried as much regret as I do. Today I will tell you about the best soldier I ever served with, I begin. My voice carries the gravel of too many years shouting orders in too many dusty places. And about the good man who died because I was too blind to listen. The room shifts, 40 spines straighten. This is not the lecture they expected. You will learn tactics here. You will learn weapon systems and hand-to-hand combat and how to navigate by the stars when your GPS fails. But the most important lesson you will ever learn is this. I pause. Let the silence build. Never assume you know a warrior when you see one. A hand raises. Young woman, second row. Airborne tab already on her shoulder. Sir, are you talking about irregular warfare, asset recruitment? No, Private. I am talking about the person standing right next to you. The one you think you have figured out. The one you have already judged and cataloged and filed away in your mind as less than, different than, not quite the same as a real soldier. I let that sink in. Afghanistan, Kunar Province, summer of 2019. 10 years ago this month. I pause. I was a captain then, 32 years old, young enough to think I knew everything, old enough that I should have known better. The faces leaned forward. I commanded a ranger team. 8 men, 127 missions over 18 months, 0 killed in action. We were good, maybe the best in theater. And I was proud of that record, too proud. I pull up the image on the screen behind me. 8 men in full combat gear, desert tan and dust, rifles held with the casual confidence of professionals. We are smiling. We do not know what is coming. Team Blackjack 7, I say, look at them. Memorize their faces because by the end of this story, one of them will be dead, and you need to understand why. The room has gone completely silent now. The story begins, like all good stories do, with someone showing up who nobody wanted around. Chapter 1, the team. Forward Operating Base Courage sits in a valley that God forgot and the Army remembered. Dust devils spin across the helicopter pad at all hours. The mountains rise on 3 sides like broken teeth, jagged and sharp and old as time itself. The 4th side opens to more mountains, further away, hazy in the perpetual dust that hangs over eastern Afghanistan like a curse that will not lift. It is September 2019. The war is 18 years old, older than some of the soldiers fighting it. We have been here so long that the bases have names and the valleys have grid coordinates, and everyone has forgotten what victory was supposed to look like. But Team Blackjack 7 remembers what excellence looks like. We are gathered in the team room on the evening of September 14th. Someone has liberated a cake from the chow hall, vanilla with chocolate frosting, the kind that comes in industrial-sized boxes with expiration dates measured in decades. Candles flicker on top. 48 of them, because Master Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez is turning 48 years old, and we will not let him forget it. Pops, says Sergeant Tyler Brooks, 29 years old and cocky with it, you are officially older than our M4 rifles. And twice as reliable, Rodriguez replies without missing a beat. Laughter fills the room. It is the good kind of laughter, the kind that comes from men who have bled together and nearly died together and chosen to stay together despite having every reason to transfer out and never look back. Rodriguez has been with Team Blackjack 7 longer than anyone. Longer than me, certainly. 26 years in the Army, the last 10 of them in special operations, the last 5 right here in this valley with us. He is the team's conscience, its elder statesman, the man who remembers when things were done differently and is not shy about saying so when the new ways seem worse than the old. His hair is more gray than black now. His face is lined with the sun damage and old scars and the weight of seeing too much. But his hands are steady and his eyes are clear, and when he speaks, we all listen. Or at least we should. "Make a wish, Pops," says Private First Class Danny Murphy, the youngest of us at 22. He looks at Rodriguez the way a grandson might look at a grandfather, with affection and respect and the unconscious certainty that the old man will always be there. Rodriguez closes his eyes. We do not know what he wishes for. Later, I will wonder if he wished for what is coming, if some part of him wished with years since the storm on the horizon. He blows out the candles, all 48 of them, in one breath, because Rodriguez is still in better shape than men half his age. "Speech," demands Sergeant First Class Miguel Santos, 38 years old, perpetual point man, father of 2 daughters he loves more than breathing. Santos has the photo of his girls in a protective sleeve in his left breast pocket, right over his heart. 8 and 10 years old, smiling in their school pictures. He touches that pocket 100 times a day like a talisman. Rodriguez stands. "Brothers," he begins, and the word carries weight because he means it literally. "I have been in this man's army for 26 years. I have served in more dusty places than I can count. I have lost friends. I have made friends. I have learned that the difference between a good unit and a great unit is not skill or equipment or even luck." He pauses, looks at each of us in turn. "It is trust. It is knowing that the man next to you will do what needs doing, regardless of the cost. It is the willingness to put another man's life ahead of your own without hesitation, without calculation, without keeping score." He smiles. "You men have given me that. For 5 years I have watched your backs and you have watched mine. I cannot ask for more than that." "Hooah," we chorus. The old Army acknowledgement that means everything and nothing, agreement and understanding, and simply "I am here with you." Rodriguez sits. The moment passes. We cut the cake with a KA bar knife because nobody thought to bring utensils. Staff Sergeant Devin Carter, 35 years old, team medic, complains about hygiene protocols and then eats 2 pieces anyway. Specialist Marcus Webb, 27, comms specialist, jury rigs a speaker system so we can play music from someone's phone. Specialist Luis Ramirez, 26, tells a story about his abuela back in Texas that makes everyone laugh even though we have heard it 3 times before. He handles the M249 squad automatic weapon with the easy familiarity of someone who was born holding a rifle, grew up hunting in the hill country, understands that heavy firepower and careful aim are not mutually exclusive. Staff Sergeant James Jenkins, 27, sits slightly apart from the group, cleaning his rifle with methodical precision. Jenkins is quiet most of the time, speaks with an Arkansas drawl when he does speak, carries himself with the contained energy of a man who learned discipline through hard circumstances. He transferred to Team Blackjack 7 6 months ago from 3rd Battalion, came with high recommendations and a reputation for steadiness under fire. His role is security and overwatch, the man who covers the team's movements with suppressive fire when things go wrong, which in Afghanistan they often do. "Jenkins," Brooks calls over, "you going to join the party or just sit there making love to your rifle?" Jenkins looks up, offers a slight smile. "Rifle's the only thing in this valley that does not complain when I ignore it." More laughter. Jenkins returns to his work. He is still new enough to the team that he has not fully integrated into the casual banter, but he is getting there. Give it time. Trust is earned in this business, not given. This is what teams look like when they are working. When the bonds have been forged in fire and hardened through repetition and tested by circumstances that would break lesser men. We are not friends exactly. We are something deeper than that. We are brothers in the way that only combat can create, bound by shared danger and mutual reliance and the knowledge that we have kept each other alive through situations that should have killed us all. 127 missions, 0 killed in action. I am proud of that number. Too proud. It will be my downfall. The celebration winds down as the sun sets behind the mountains, painting the valley in shades of orange and red that would be beautiful if they were anywhere else. We clean up the paper plates and plastic forks and return to our racks for the precious few hours of sleep that soldiers learn to steal whenever possible. I do not sleep well that night. Something feels wrong, though I cannot name it. The air is too still, the silence too complete. I lie in my bunk and listen to the generator humming outside and the distant sound of someone snoring 3 bunks over, and I try to identify what is bothering me. I do not figure it out until it is too late. The next morning brings a helicopter and a problem I am not prepared to solve. Chapter 2, The Arrival. The UH-60 Blackhawk appears out of the east at 0800 hours, rotors beating the air into submission, dust rising in great clouds that will take 20 minutes to settle. We have learned to close our eyes and cover our mouths when the birds come in. The dust here is not like dust anywhere else. It is fine as talc and gets into everything. Your gear, your lungs, your soul. The helicopter lands. The rotors slow but do not stop, because the pilots want to be airborne again as soon as possible. This valley is not considered safe, despite the phobia in the walls and the guards. Nowhere is safe in Afghanistan. Some places are just less dangerous than others for brief periods of time. The side door opens. 3 people climb out, ducking under the rotors in that instinctive crouch that everyone does, even though the blades are 20 feet overhead. 2 of them are crew chiefs, jumping down to handle cargo. The third is smaller, slighter, carrying a pack that looks too large for the frame supporting it. I watch from the operations center as the figure walks toward the base. The gait is measured, careful, economical. No wasted motion. The kind of walk you see in people who have learned to conserve energy over long distances. Captain Harrison? Lieutenant Morrison, the FOB commander, appears at my shoulder. Your new attachment just arrived. New attachment? I do not take my eyes off the approaching figure. I did not request any attachments. ISA Liaison, Intelligence Support Activity, coming straight from Bagram, orders signed by a colonel I have never heard of and do not care to argue with. Morrison hands me a folder. Supposed to observe your operations for 2 weeks. Provide analytical support, whatever that means. I open the folder. Single sheet of orders, heavily redacted, with a name at the bottom. Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen, age 28, MOS, listed as 35F, intelligence analyst. Current assignment, ISA forward element. Prior service record, classified. She, I ask? Morrison shrugs, apparently. I watch as Staff Sergeant Chen approaches the operations center. She stops outside, sets down her pack with care, and removes her ballistic glasses. Her face is young, unlined, serious. Dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun. 5'4", maybe 120 pounds in full gear. She looks like she should be filing paperwork in some air-conditioned office in Virginia, not walking around a combat outpost in one of the most dangerous valleys in Afghanistan. This is going to be a problem. She enters, comes to attention, salutes. Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen reporting as ordered, sir. I return the salute. At ease, Sergeant. Welcome to FOB Courage. I assume you have been briefed on your assignment? Yes, sir. I am to accompany your team on patrol operations for 14 days and provide real-time analytical support for intelligence collection and assessment. Her voice is level, professional, empty of inflection. She is not nervous. She is not excited. She is simply stating facts as she understands them. Sergeant Chen, I will be direct with you. My team has been operating in this valley for 18 months. We have conducted 127 missions without losing a man. We are good at what we do. Very good. We do not need analytical support. We do not need observers. And we especially do not need, I pause, choosing words carefully, distractions. Something flickers in her eyes, hurt, anger. It passes too quickly to identify. Understood, sir. I will do my best to stay out of your way. See that you do. Report to Sergeant First Class Santos. He will integrate you into the patrol rotation. We step off at 0400 tomorrow for a 3-day reconnaissance sweep. Bring what you need, leave what you do not. We move light and fast. Yes, sir. She salutes again, turns on her heel and exits. Morrison whistles low. You really know how to make someone feel welcome. I know how to keep my men alive, I reply. And that means minimizing variables. She is a variable. Maybe she will surprise you. I doubt it, but of course she does. That evening, I watch as Chen integrates herself into the team, or tries to. Santos is professional but distant, showing her where to store her gear and explaining the patrol schedule without warmth. Brooks makes his opinions known immediately and loudly, complaining to anyone who will listen about babysitting and desk jockeys and the general deterioration of Army standards. Webb is polite but dismissive. Ramirez ignores her entirely. Jenkins glances at her once, assesses, returns to his weapon maintenance without comment. Only Rodriguez treats her with anything resembling courtesy. I watch as he approaches her in the team room. She is checking her equipment, methodical and thorough, each item examined and returned to its place with care. Rodriguez stands at a respectful distance until she acknowledges him. Master Sergeant Rodriguez, she says, it is not a question. That is correct. And you are Staff Sergeant Chen, he pauses. Your family name, Korean? Yes, Master Sergeant. Your father serve? She looks up at him fully for the first time. Her eyes are dark, measuring, cautious. Korean War, chosen reservoir, survived the withdrawal, came home, died 3 years ago. Rodriguez nods slowly. My father served in Vietnam, 173rd Airborne Brigade, came home, taught me everything I know about being a soldier. He extends his hand. Children of veterans understand things that others do not. Welcome to the team, Sergeant Chen. She shakes his hand. Thank you, Master Sergeant. Call me Rodriguez. Everyone does. He glances at her pack. That looks heavy. Standard ISA field communications package, encrypted satellite uplink, portable analysis station, redundant power systems. Lot of equipment for analytical support. I believe in being prepared. Rodriguez studies her for a long moment. I cannot see his face from where I stand, but I know that look. He is reading her the way he reads terrain, looking for the details that others miss, the small signs that reveal larger truths. Your father at Chosin, he says finally, he teach you anything else besides how to pack a ruck? Chen hesitates. It is the first time I have seen her hesitate. He taught me that service is honor, that protecting your brothers is the highest calling, that some things are worth dying for. Wise man, you listen to him. Every day, Master Sergeant. Good. Rodriguez nods once definitively. Then you will do fine here. Ignore Brooks. He barks at everyone. And for what it is worth, the captain is a good man and a good leader. He just worries about his team. Give him time. I will try not to slow anyone down. Rodriguez smiles and it transforms his weathered face into something warm. Something tells me that will not be a problem. He walks away. Chen returns to her equipment check. I make a note to ask Rodriguez what he saw in her that I did not. But the note gets buried under mission planning and briefings and the 100 small tasks that consume a commander's day, and I never ask him. That night, Santos sends me a text message. 3 words. She keeps up. I do not know what he means until the next morning. Chapter 3. 5 days of blindness. Day 1 of the patrol begins at 0400 hours in darkness so complete that the stars look close enough to touch. We gear up in silence, each man following the ritual he has developed over years of repetitions. Check weapons, check ammunition, check medical supplies, check communications, check water. Check everything twice because the thing you forget to check is the thing that will kill you. Chen gears up alone, off to the side, going through her own checklist with the same methodical attention to detail. Her movements are economical, practiced, unconsciously competent in the way that comes from endless repetition. She is not fumbling in the dark. She is not asking questions. She is simply preparing, quietly and efficiently, like she has done this 1,000 times before. Brooks notices. Captain, she is going to slow us down. That pack is too heavy. She is too small. We should leave her here. She goes, I reply. Orders from above my pay grade. Then orders from above your pay grade are going to get us killed. I do not dignify that with a response. We form up, Santos on point as always, the rest of the team in our standard patrol formation. Chen falls in where Rodriguez indicates, 4th position, protected by men in front and behind, a liability to be guarded rather than an asset to be used. We step off into the darkness. The terrain here is brutal. Steep slopes that require hands as much as feet. Loose scree that shifts under every step. Narrow trails that wind along cliff faces with drops that would kill you 3 times before you hit bottom. We move slowly at first, letting eyes adjust to darkness, letting muscles warm up, letting the team find its rhythm. Chen keeps up. I glance back every 10 minutes, expecting to see her struggling, falling behind, needing help. But she is always there, 4th position, maintaining interval, placing her feet with care on the treacherous ground. Her breathing is controlled. Her pace is steady. She does not ask for breaks. After 2 hours, Santos calls a halt. We take water and security positions while the sky begins to lighten in the east. Brooks moves close to Murphy, the youngest, and I hear him mutter, "How long before the analyst realizes she is in over her head?" Murphy glances at Chen, who is scanning the terrain with the same careful attention the rest of us are. "Sarge, I do not think she is in over her head." "What makes you say that?" "Look at her feet. She is not just walking. She is placing every step deliberate, like someone taught her to move in hostile terrain." Brooks snorts. "Probably had mountain warfare training at some cushy school." But Murphy is right. I notice it too now that he has pointed it out. Chen is not hiking, she is patrolling. There is a difference. Hiking is transportation, getting from point A to point B with minimal thought. Patrolling is tactical movement, every step a calculation of cover and concealment and fields of fire and egress routes. Chen is patrolling. We move out again as the sun rises, painting the valley in harsh light that reveals every rock, every shadow, every place an enemy might hide. The temperature climbs from cold to hot in the span of an hour. Dust rises with every step. Sweat soaks through uniforms. This is infantry work, old as warfare itself, unchanged in any meaningful way since men first picked up spears and walked into hostile territory looking for enemies who wanted them dead. Day 1 passes without incident. We cover 12 kilometers, reach our first observation point, establish a hide site, and settle in to watch a valley where intelligence suggests Taliban supply routes run. Chen takes notes in a small, weatherproof notebook, documenting terrain features and potential observation points and fields of fire with sketch maps that are surprisingly accurate. That night, after we establish security and eat cold rations, Rodriguez approaches me. "Sir, permission to speak freely." "Always, Rodriguez." "Sergeant Chen, she is not what you think." "What do you mean?" "I mean, she moves like someone with training. Real training, not just the basic infantry course." He pauses. "I have been watching her all day. She checks her sectors without being told. She maintains noise discipline instinctively. She scans high ground the way snipers do. She is awesome. Maybe they have better training than we thought." "Maybe?" Rodriguez sounds unconvinced. "Or maybe there is more to her than what the orders say." "Are you suggesting she is lying about her assignment?" "I am suggesting that sometimes people have reasons for not telling the whole truth, and sometimes those reasons are good ones. I consider this. Did she say something to you?" "No, sir. Just an old man's intuition. 26 years in uniform, you learn to read people." He stands. "Keep an eye on her, Captain. Not because she is a problem, because she might be an asset we do not know we have." He walks away before I can respond. Day 2 brings more of the same. Patrol, observe, document, return. Chen never complains, never asks for help, never shows weakness, but she also never engages with the team beyond professional courtesy. She is there but not there, present but separate, a shadow that moves with us but does not belong to us. Santos tests her on day 3. We are moving along a narrow trail when he suddenly calls back, "Chen, if contact is initiated from the North Ridge, where is your nearest covered fighting position?" Without hesitation, she points. "Behind that boulder cluster 20 meters east. Provides cover from elevated fire and concealment from direct observation. Secondary position is the depression 15 meters west, offers defilade but limits return fire capability." Santos blinks, looks at me, looks back at Chen. "How long have you been in country, Sergeant?" "This rotation, 5 days." "And you read terrain like that after 5 days?" "I study maps before missions, Sergeant Santos, and I pay attention to what I see." Santos nods slowly. "Good answer." He turns back to point position, but I see him glance back at her twice more over the next hour, reassessing. That evening, Brooks makes his usual rounds of complaints. "I still say she is dead weight, Captain. Sure, she can keep up on flat ground, but wait until we hit the really rough stuff. Wait until someone starts shooting. Then we will see what an analyst is really made of." "Brooks," I say tiredly, "she has kept up for 3 days. Give it a rest." "With respect, sir, 3 days of easy patrol is not the same as combat. When the shooting starts, she is going to freeze, and one of us is going to have to babysit her instead of fighting. That is going to get someone killed." I do not argue with him because part of me wonders if he is right. Part of me is still waiting for Chen to reveal herself as the liability I assumed she would be. Part of me is looking for reasons to confirm my initial judgment rather than questioning whether that judgment was correct. This is called confirmation bias. It is a cognitive error that humans make instinctively, seeing what we expect to see rather than what is actually there. In civilian life, it leads to bad decisions. In combat, it leads to death. I'm about to learn this lesson the hard way. Day 4 brings an incident that should have changed everything. We are moving through a village that intelligence says is friendly, or at least neutral, when a dog starts barking at our approach. Loud, aggressive, the kind of barking that wakes everyone within a kilometer and announces our presence to anyone paying attention. The dog is tied up but straining at its rope, mouth open, teeth showing. It is between us and our route through the village. We have to pass it or detour significantly. Santos raises his hand, halting the patrol. "Captain, we have an issue." Before I can respond, Chen moves. She does not ask permission. She does not explain her intentions. She simply walks toward the dog with slow, deliberate steps, hands visible, body language calm. "Chen, wait!" I call out, but she does not stop. The dog's barking intensifies. It lunges against the rope, snarling now, genuinely aggressive. Chen stops 2 meters away, just out of range if the rope breaks. She crouches down, lowering her profile, making herself less threatening. Then she does something unexpected. She whistles, soft, melodic, a falling 3-note pattern that sounds nothing like a command. The dog stops barking, cocks its head. She whistles again. The dog sits. Chen reaches into her cargo pocket, produces something, I cannot see what, and tosses it to the dog. The dog catches it, tail wagging now, aggression forgotten. Chen stands, walks past the dog without looking at it again, and returns to formation. "Move out," she says quietly to Santos. The patrol continues. The dog watches us pass, tail still wagging, whatever Chen gave it apparently delicious enough to overcome its territorial instincts. That evening, Murphy asks her about it. "Sergeant Chen, what did you do with that dog?" Dogs respond to calm authority and rewards. I whistled to interrupt its aggressive behavior cycle. Then I gave it a piece of beef jerky to reinforce the interruption. Basic animal behavior modification. "Where did you learn that?" "My father taught me. He trained military working dogs before the Korean War. Said understanding animals was half of understanding humans." Rodriguez, listening nearby, smiles to himself, but he does not comment. Day 5, our last day before returning to base. We are tired, dusty, ready for showers and hot food in a bed that does not consist of rocks with a poncho over them. The patrol has been uneventful, which in Afghanistan is the best possible outcome. No contact, no casualties. Mission accomplished. We are moving along a ridgeline when Chen stops suddenly. Rodriguez, behind her, nearly walks into her. "Problem, Sergeant?" Chen is staring at a rock outcropping 50 meters to our north. "That position, has anyone observed it?" "It is just rocks," Brooks says. "We have seen 1,000 rock piles just like it. That rock pile has a clear line of sight to the entire valley floor. If I wanted to ambush a patrol moving through this area, that is exactly where I would position a spotter or sniper." Santos on point turns back. "You think someone is there?" "I think someone could be there. And if I can see that it is a good position, anyone with tactical training can see it too." Santos looks at me. I look at the rocks. They appear identical to every other rock formation in this valley. Random, natural, unremarkable. "Chen, we have been patrolling this valley for 18 months. If that position was being used, we would know about it." "Would you?" she asks quietly. Then without waiting for an answer, she returns to formation. We move on. The rocks remain just rocks. Nothing happens. But 2 hours later, as we are descending toward the valley floor, Rodriguez drops back to walk beside me. "Captain, she was right about those rocks." "What do you mean?" "I glassed them while we were moving. There are old fighting positions there, covered over, concealed, but definitely man-made. Someone has used that site before, maybe years ago, maybe last week. Hard to tell. So, lots of old fighting positions out here. Soviets, Mujahideen, Taliban, us. This whole country is one big abandoned battlefield." "Yes, sir. But she spotted it instantly, from 50 meters away, while moving without optics." He pauses. "That is not normal observation skills as pedestrian. That is trained tactical eye. The kind of eye you develop over years of looking at terrain and thinking about how to kill people from it. What are you suggesting, Rodriguez? I am suggesting that maybe we should ask Sergeant Chen what her real training is. Because whatever her orders say, she is not just an intelligence analyst. But I do not ask, because asking would mean admitting I was wrong about her. And I am not ready to admit that yet. We return to base that evening. Chen quietly stows her gear, writes her reports, and disappears into wherever ISA personnel disappear to. The team debriefs, showers, sleeps. Another patrol complete, another 5 days closer to going home. I write in my own report that the attached ISA liaison performed adequately and did not significantly impede operations. It is a lukewarm assessment, neither praise nor criticism, the kind of evaluation that damns with faint recognition. I will regret those words for the rest of my life. Chapter 4, Mission Viper Strike. The mission briefing happens 2 days after we return from patrol. Intelligence has identified what they believe is a major Taliban supply route running through Waigal Valley, 20 kilometers north of our position. Multiple sources, considered reliable, report weapons and ammunition being moved through the area every few days. Command wants eyes on it. They want confirmation. They want targeting packages for potential airstrikes. They want Team Blackjack 7. The briefing room is crowded. Lieutenant Morrison stands at the front with a map of the valley projected on the wall behind him. Red lines mark known enemy positions. Blue lines mark friendly forces, which consist of us and nobody else for 50 kilometers in any direction. The valley itself is a narrow slash between mountains, running east to west, with a river at the bottom that is more rocks than water this time of year. Gentlemen, Morrison begins, and then nods toward Chen, who is sitting in the back. And lady, this is Operation Viper Strike. Simple reconnaissance mission. You insert here, he points to the eastern end of the valley. Move west along the southern ridge, establish observation posts at these 3 locations, and document any activity in the valley over a 48-hour period. After that, extract at the western end, where a helicopter will be waiting. Santos raises his hand. Sir, what is the enemy situation in the area? Latest intelligence says minimal Taliban presence. They use the valley for movement, but do not maintain permanent positions there. You should have the area to yourselves. Rodriguez leans forward. Should have, sir? Morrison smiles thinly. Rodriguez, after 26 years, you know better than to ask me to guarantee anything in Afghanistan. Should have is as good as it gets. But satellite imagery shows no activity in the past 72 hours. No thermal signatures, no communications intercepts. The valley appears clear. Appears, Rodriguez repeats softly. Do you have a concern, Master Sergeant? Rodriguez is silent for a moment, thinking. Just a feeling, sir. Something about this feels off. Maybe it is the phase of the moon. Maybe I'm getting old and paranoid. But I would prefer to bring additional firepower and support. Negative. This is a stealth reconnaissance mission, light and fast. In and out before anyone knows you are there. You are taking 8 Rangers. That is more than sufficient for observation and evasion. 9, I correct. Staff Sergeant Chen is attached to us for 1 more week. Morrison nods. Right, 9 personnel total. You step off at 0400 tomorrow. Weather looks clear. Moon will be in your favor for night movement. Any other questions? Brooks raises his hand. Rules of engagement, sir? Standard ROE. You are authorized to engage if engaged. Otherwise, observe only. The goal is intelligence collection, not combat. Understood? We all nod. It is a simple mission, the kind we have done dozens of times before. Patrol in, establish hides, observe, patrol out. Low intensity, low risk, the kind of mission that becomes routine after months in country. Routine is dangerous. Routine makes you complacent. Routine makes you stop checking the things you should always check. Routine kills soldiers more reliably than enemy fire. But I do not know this yet. The briefing ends. The team disperses to prepare. Chen remains in her seat, studying the map on the wall with an intensity that seems excessive for a simple reconnaissance mission. I approach her. Question, Sergeant? Just familiarizing myself with the terrain, sir. You do not need to memorize it. We will have maps and GPS. Electronics fail, sir. Batteries die. Maps tear. But terrain stays constant. If something goes wrong, I want to know the ground without having to look at a screen. It is a solid answer, the kind of answer a professional gives. But I am still too blind to see what it means. Suit yourself. We step off in 12 hours. Get some rest. Yes, sir. But when I pass by the briefing room 2 hours later, She is still there, staring at the map, tracing routes with her finger, marking something in her notebook that I cannot see. That evening, the team conducts its pre-mission ritual. Santos video calls his wife and daughters. I watch him from across the team room, see his face soften as his 8-year-old tells him about a spelling test she aced, see his eyes bright with held-back tears when his 10-year-old asks when he is coming home. Soon, mija, he tells her. Papa will be home soon. You said that last month, the 10-year-old replies with the brutal honesty of children. I know, baby, but this time I mean it. Just a few more months. Then I will be home for good, and we will go to Disney World like I promised. Just you and me, and your sister, and Mama. Promise? I promise, mija, cross my heart. He makes the gesture on camera so she can see it. She giggles. He smiles. They talk for another 10 minutes about nothing important. School and friends and a neighbor's cat that keeps sneaking into their yard. When the call ends, Santos sits staring at the blank screen for a long moment. You okay, Miguel? Carter asks. Yeah, just missing my girls. 4 more months, then you are done. Terminal leave, retirement paperwork, out of the Army forever. You and Linda already picked where you are moving? Colorado Springs. Linda has family there. Mountains, clean air, good schools. Santos smiles. I'm going to coach soccer. Can you believe that? Me, a soccer coach. You will be great at it. The kids will love you. I hope so. I want to be present, really there for them, not just a voice on a phone call every few days. He stands, stretches. Anyway, one more mission, then one step closer to home. One more mission. I will think about those words a lot in the coming years. Rodriguez finds me before bed. Captain, I have a bad feeling about tomorrow. You said that in this briefing. I mean it. Something is wrong. I can feel it in my bones. Your bones are 48 years old, Rodriguez. Maybe they are just sore. He does not smile at my weak joke. Sir, I have been in combat for more years than I care to count. Afghanistan, Iraq, a dozen other places they do not put on our uniform patches. I have learned to trust my gut, and my gut says we are walking into something bad. The intelligence says the valley is clear. Intelligence also said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Intelligence is written by analysts sitting in air-conditioned offices staring at screens. I am talking about what my eyes see and my experience tells me. What do your eyes see? That valley is perfect ambush terrain. Narrow, limited egress routes, high ground on both sides. If I wanted to kill a patrol, that is exactly where I would do it. Then we will be careful. We always are. Sir, with respect, careful is not enough against an enemy who has been fighting in these mountains for 40 years. They know this terrain better than we ever will. If they want us dead, there is not much we can do except be lucky. Are you suggesting we abort the mission? Rodriguez is quiet for a long moment. No, sir, I am suggesting we bring Sergeant Chen's extra gear. What extra gear? Whatever's in that pack she carries. The one she says is communications equipment. I do not think it is communications equipment. What do you think it is? I think it is insurance, and I think tomorrow we are going to need all the insurance we can get. He leaves before I can question him further. I should listen to him. Rodriguez has 26 years of experience. He has forgotten more about combat than I have learned. His instincts have kept him alive through multiple wars and countless missions. When a man like that says he has a bad feeling, you listen. But I do not listen, because I am young enough to think experience is overrated and confident enough to believe that 127 missions without a loss means I have figured out how to stay lucky forever. This is hubris, and hubris has been killing soldiers since the Greeks gave the concept a name. We step off at 0400 hours into darkness that swallows everything. 9 Rangers moving in single file, Santos on point as always, me in the middle, Chen toward the rear under Rodriguez's watchful eye. We move slowly at first, quietly, letting night vision equipment turn darkness into green-tinted twilight. The terrain is steep, the trails are narrow. The mountains loom on all sides like walls of a prison we have volunteered to enter. 6 hours of hard movement brings us to the valley entrance. Santos signals a halt. We take positions and observe. The valley looks peaceful, empty, quiet except for the wind moving through the rocks and the distant sound of water running over stones. Satellite imagery shows no thermal signatures. Our optics show no movement. Intelligence says it is clear. Rodriguez drops back to where I am positioned. Sir, we do not have to do this. We can call it off. Report that conditions were not favorable. Nobody will question it. We have orders, Rodriguez. Orders can be changed. Not by me. Santos, what do you see? Santos, 50 meters ahead at the valley entrance, is glassing the area with his rifle scope. Looks clear, Captain. No sign of enemy activity. No fighting positions that I can identify. No tracks. Nothing. Chen, next to Rodriguez, speaks quietly. Sergeant Santos, check the rocks at 11 o'clock high, and 1 o'clock high, and 3 o'clock medium elevation. There is a pause, then Santos curses softly. Chen, how did you spot those? Spot what? I demand. Old fighting positions, concealed, well camouflaged. I almost missed them. Santos continues scanning. Chen, you seeing anything else? I am not. At least 4 more positions that look prepared, maybe more. Hard to tell without getting closer. I move forward to Santos's position, take his scope, look where he indicates. At first, I see nothing but rocks. Then slowly the pattern emerges. Rocks piled just slightly too deliberately, shadows that are just slightly too dark. Places where someone could hide and observe and fire down into the valley without being easily spotted from below. Those could be years old, I say. Soviets, Mujahideen. Could be, Chen replies, or they could be from last week. Either way, those positions dominate this valley. If someone wanted to ambush a patrol moving through here, that is where they would do it from. Rodriguez is looking at me. His expression says, I told you so without speaking a word. I make the decision that will haunt me. We proceed, but carefully. Santos, take it slow. Everyone stays alert. Watch those positions. First sign of trouble, we pull back. Santos nods. Roger, sir. He moves forward. The team follows. Chen falls in where she is supposed to. 4th position. No longer protected, but also no longer ignored. I notice that Rodriguez has positioned himself directly behind her now, protecting her, or ready to use whatever skills he suspects she has. We move into the valley. The walls rise on either side, steep and high. The floor is relatively flat, scattered with rocks and scrub vegetation. Our boots crunch on gravel that sounds loud in the stillness. Morning sun is just beginning to touch the eastern peaks, but the valley itself remains in shadow. Beautiful, in a harsh and unforgiving way. The kind of landscape that makes you understand why men have fought over these mountains for thousands of years. Not because they are valuable, because they are unconquerable, because holding them means you cannot be dislodged, because the high ground in Afghanistan is the difference between living and dying. We are 400 meters into the valley when Chen stops again. This time I see her hand move to touch Rodriguez's arm. A signal. Stop. Rodriguez raises his fist. The patrol halts. Chen, I move back to her position. What is it? Her face is pale. Her jaw is tight. She is staring at the rocks ahead of us with an intensity that is almost painful to watch. Sir, we need to leave now. Why? Because this is a kill zone, and I think we have walked into an ambush that is already in position. You think, or you know? Sir, I am intelligence support. I provide assessments based on available data. The data says those prepared positions are occupied. The data says we are being watched right now. The data says if we go another 100 meters, we are going to start taking casualties. What data? I do not see anyone. Thermal shows nothing. Our optics show nothing. Sometimes you do not see them until they want you to see them, and by then it is too late. Brooks, listening, snorts. Captain, are we really going to abort a mission because the analyst has a feeling? Chen turns to look at him. For the first time since she joined us, there is steel in her voice. Sergeant Brooks, I have been doing this longer than you think, and I am telling you that we are in danger. You can believe me or not, but if someone drops in the next 60 seconds, remember that I tried to warn you. Doing what longer? Brooks demands. Analyzing data from an office? That is not the same as being here. No, Chen says quietly. It is not. She starts to say something else, then stops, looks past Santos, toward the valley ahead. Her entire body goes rigid. Contact, she whispers. And then the world explodes into violence. Chapter 5, The Valley. The first shot makes no sound that we hear. One moment Santos is standing, turning to look back at us. The next moment he is falling, dropping straight down like someone cut the strings holding him upright. It happens so fast that our brains cannot process it. So fast that for one full second, we all just stand there trying to understand what we just saw. Then the blood spreads, dark against the tan dust. Too much blood. coming from his head, where his head used to be intact and whole and alive. The second shot comes 3 seconds later. Carter screams, clutches his thigh, goes down hard. The sound of his scream snaps us all into motion. Training takes over. Instinct takes over. The part of our brains that has been drilled in what to do when people start shooting at you takes control and makes our bodies move before conscious thought catches up. Contact! Snipers, take cover! I am shouting, but I barely hear my own voice. The world has narrowed to a tunnel. Get behind something. Find protection. Return fire. The basic imperatives of staying alive under fire. The team scatters. 8 Rangers diving for whatever cover the valley offers. Boulders, depressions in the ground, a scraggly tree that will not stop bullets, but at least breaks up your silhouette. We have trained for this. We know what to do. But training happens on ranges where the targets do not shoot back and nobody bleeds real blood and nobody dies for real. Third shot. Webb takes it in the shoulder, spinning him around, dropping him behind a rock where he lies gasping and clutching his arm. Fourth shot misses Brooks by what looks like inches, sparking off stone right next to his head. He dives flat, crawling behind a boulder, his face showing the white-eyed panic of someone who just realized how close death came. I am behind cover now, rifle up, scanning for targets. Where are they? Where are the shooters? The shots came from elevation, but I cannot see muzzle flashes, cannot see movement, cannot identify positions. They are invisible. Ghosts. Death delivered from nowhere by enemies we cannot see. Another shot. This one hits Ramirez in the leg. He screams, collapses. Now we have 4 men down. Santos dead. I know he is dead, even though my brain refuses to accept it. 3 wounded, 2 of them badly. We have been in contact for less than 30 seconds, and my team is being destroyed. Fifth shot. Jenkins takes a round to his plate carrier. The ceramic stops the bullet, but the impact cracks ribs and knocks him sideways behind a boulder, gasping for air that will not come properly. He is out of the fight, curled on his side, trying to breathe through broken bones. I try to count shooters by the sound of shots. Different directions, different elevations. At least 5, maybe 6, maybe 7. We are outnumbered. We are exposed. We are pinned down in a kill zone with no good options. This is every infantry commander's nightmare. This is the scenario they teach you in training, where the answer is usually call for fire support or call for air support or call for reinforcement. But we are 20 kilometers from the nearest friendly forces. Air support is 30 minutes away minimum. Fire support is not an option when you cannot identify targets. We are alone. We are dying, and I have no idea how to save us. Rodriguez is next to me now, behind the same boulder. His face is calm. His hands are steady. 26 years of experience means that he has been in worse situations and survived. But I see the calculation in his eyes. He is counting bodies, counting rounds, counting seconds, doing the math that tells him we have maybe 10 minutes before the enemy adjusts fire and starts killing us systematically. Captain, he says, and his voice is steady despite everything. We need a miracle. And that is when Chen stands up. She comes out of cover in the middle of the killing zone while bullets are still snapping past. My brain screams at her to get down, but she ignores my shout. She is moving with purpose, walking, not running, crossing open ground toward my position like she is taking a stroll through a park. A shot cracks past her, close, maybe 4 inches from her head. She does not flinch, does not duck, does not break stride, just adjusts her pass slightly and keeps coming. Another shot, this one even closer. I can see the supersonic shockwave ripple the air near her shoulder. Brooks is screaming at her to get down. Murphy is cursing in disbelief. Rodriguez is watching her with an expression I cannot read. She reaches our boulder, drops into cover next to me, sets down her pack, unzips it with steady hands. Sir, she says, and her voice is completely calm, like we are having a conversation in the briefing room instead of being shot at by invisible enemies. I need you to understand something very quickly. Chen, what the hell are you doing? She pulls something from her pack. At first, I do not understand what I am seeing. Then recognition hits. It is a rifle, but not a standard issue rifle. This is something else entirely. Custom built, precision machined, a work of art that also happens to be a weapon. Long barrel, expensive scope, Modifications that speak of years of refinement by someone who understands ballistics at a level I do not. What is that? I hear myself ask stupidly. My job, Chen replies. The first thing you need to understand about professional snipers is that they do not think the way normal soldiers think. Normal soldiers react. They see a threat, they engage, they take fire, they return fire. It is instinctive, immediate, the product of training that emphasizes speed and aggression. Snipers calculate. Every breath is measured. Every heartbeat is counted. The wind is not just wind, but a mathematical variable that must be solved. Distance is not just distance, but a problem in physics involving gravity and velocity and the rotation of the Earth itself. A sniper does not shoot at what they see. They shoot at where the target will be when the bullet arrives, accounting for factors that most people never consider. Sarah Chen is not most people. I watch her work from behind the boulder where I have taken cover, and what I am seeing does not match anything I thought I knew about her. The quiet analyst who spent 5 days trailing behind my team, never complaining, never engaging, never revealing anything about herself beyond professional courtesy. That person is gone. The person lying prone 15 meters away is someone else entirely. Her breathing has slowed to the point where I can barely see her chest move. 4 seconds in through the nose, 6 seconds out through the mouth. The kind of controlled respiration that lowers heart rate and steadies aim. Her eye is pressed to the scope, never wavering, tracking across terrain that looks empty to me, but apparently contains targets she can see with clarity I do not possess. She is assembling the rifle now, hands moving faster than I can follow, pieces coming together with decisive clicks that sound unnaturally loud. Long barrel, expensive scope, custom modifications that speak of years of refinement. This is not ISA equipment. This is the tool of someone who has spent their life perfecting a very specific skill. 7 shooters, she continues, still assembling, not looking at me. Positions at 11 o'clock high, 1 o'clock high, 2:30 medium elevation, 3 o'clock high, 4 o'clock medium, 7:30 low, 9 o'clock medium. Ranges between 400 and 700 meters. SVD Dragunov rifles based on report signatures. Professional counter-sniper work. This is not Taliban. This is trained contractors, probably Chechen, possibly Wagner Group. My brain is trying to catch up. How does she know all this? How can she possibly have that level of detail when my trained rangers cannot even see where the fire is coming from? Rodriguez answers my unspoken question. Because that is what she does, sir. That is who she really is. Chen locks a magazine into the rifle, looks at me directly for the first time. Her eyes are hard, focused, completely different from the quiet analyst who has been following us for 5 days. I am not, yes, a liaison. I am, but that is not what I actually am. I am JSOC, sniper, 43 confirmed kills before today. I was reassigned to ISA for psychological evaluation after a mission went wrong 6 months ago. Someone thought I needed therapy and desk work. What I actually need is a clear shot in about 8 minutes. She starts to move. I grab her arm. Chen, wait, you cannot just... Sir, in about 4 more minutes, those shooters are going to have your entire team ranged in. They are going to start dropping your rangers one by one until you are all dead or captured. Sergeant Santos is already dead. 3 more are wounded. I can stop this, but only if you let me do my job. She holds my gaze. I see no fear in her eyes, no doubt. Just calm certainty and something else. Something that looks like grief. And underneath that, something darker. Something that looks like ghosts. For a fraction of a second, her eyes flicker. Not with fear, but with memory. Something she is seeing that is not here. Not now, but somewhere else entirely. Please, she adds quietly, I failed to save Sergeant Santos. Do not make me fail to save the rest of you. Rodriguez leans close. Sir, let her work. Trust me. Another shot rings out. Jenkins screams again, his cracked ribs making every breath agony. Time is running out. I make a decision. Do it. What do you need? 30 seconds of suppressive fire. Does not need to be accurate. Just needs to make them keep their heads down while I reposition. I key my radio. All elements on my mark, suppressive fire toward probable enemy positions. Volume over accuracy, mark, execute. The Rangers open up. Rifles bark, bullets fly toward rocks and ridges where we think the enemy might be. It accomplishes nothing tactically. You cannot suppress what you cannot see, but it is noise. It is violence. And for 30 seconds, it might be enough to give Chen the window she needs. She moves 15 meters to a slight rise that offers elevation and better sightlines. She goes prone. The rifle comes up to her shoulder like it is part of her body. Eye to scope. Breathing slows. Heart rate drops. Through all of this, I am watching her, and what I see is transformation. The quiet analyst is gone. The person lying there now is someone else entirely. A professional, a warrior, someone who has done this so many times that every movement is automatic, refined through thousands of repetitions until weapon and shooter are one integrated system. But there is something else too, something I did not expect. Her hands are steady, but I see the slight tension in her shoulders, the micro adjustment of position that speaks not of inexperience but of weight. She is carrying something, some burden that goes beyond the immediate tactical situation. She finds her first target. I cannot see what she sees through that scope. Cannot see the enemy sniper who is invisible to me. But she sees him. I know because her breathing stops. Her finger finds the trigger. And then, for just a moment, she hesitates. It is barely a second, maybe less. But I see it. A fraction of pause between target acquisition and shot execution. Something holding her back. Something making her question. Then it passes. Her training overrides whatever doubt flickered through her mind. She fires. The rifle coughs, suppressed but not silent, a sound like someone punching leather. The recoil is absorbed by her body position, barely moving the scope from her eye. 600 meters away, something changes in the rocks. A hint of movement where there should be none. Then stillness. The permanent stillness that means the threat is neutralized. One down, Chen says calmly, but I hear something underneath the calm, a cost. 6 remaining. She works the bolt. Brass ejects in a golden arc, tumbling through morning light. A new round chambers. The bolt locks forward. She fires again. And that is when I understand. This is not easy for her. This is not routine. Despite the professional execution, despite the years of training, despite the 43 kills that came before, each shot still costs something. Each life taken still leaves a mark. Somewhere in the rocks at 1 o'clock high, 650 meters distant, another enemy sniper dies without understanding why. 2 down, 5 remaining. Chen cycles the bolt again. 1.2 seconds from shot to ready. Mechanical precision born from endless practice. But her jaw is tight. Her breathing, though controlled, carries a weight that was not there before. Around us, the rest of Team Blackjack 7 is still pinned down, still trying to process what is happening. Brooks is behind a boulder 30 meters to my left, his face showing shock and confusion, and the beginning of understanding that everything he thought he knew was wrong. Murphy, the youngest, is pressed flat behind a depression in the ground, his rifle up but no targets to shoot at because he cannot see what Chen sees. Carter is down, wounded, bleeding from his thigh wound but conscious and applying pressure with shaking hands. Webb is behind cover, clutching his shoulder, his face pale with blood loss and pain. Ramirez is trying to crawl to better cover, dragging his injured leg. Jenkins is curled behind a rock, trying to breathe through cracked ribs, each inhalation a study in agony. And Santos. Santos is still lying where he fell, 40 meters ahead of us in the open, his blood dark against the tan earth. Dead. Gone. The best point man I ever served with. Killed in the first seconds of contact before any of us understood what was happening. I failed him. I ignored Rodriguez's warning. I ignored Chen's assessment. I walked my team into a kill zone because I was too proud to admit that my judgment might be wrong. Santos died because of my arrogance. That knowledge sits in my chest like a stone, heavy and cold and permanent. But there is no time for guilt now. Guilt is a luxury that comes after you survive. Right now, survival depends on the woman I dismissed as dead weight. Chen fires again. Third shot. 420 meters, 230 on the clock face, medium elevation. The target is repositioning, smart enough to know that staying in one place after your teammates start dying is suicide. But Chen has already predicted the movement, has already identified the secondary fighting position based on terrain analysis and tactical logic. She fires where he is going, not where he is. The bullet crosses the distance in less than a second. I cannot see the impact, cannot confirm the kill. But Chen's subtle nod tells me everything I need to know. 3 down, 4 remaining. Rodriguez is next to me now, having low-crawled from his position, while Chen provided what amounts to perfect overwatch. His face shows no surprise at what he is seeing, only grim satisfaction, like a suspicion confirmed. "How long have you known?" I ask him quietly. "Since the second day. Maybe earlier." He watches Chen adjust her position slightly, anticipating return fire that has not come yet, but will. The way she moves, the way she scans terrain, the way she positions herself to always have cover and concealment without being told. That is not analyst training, Captain. That is operator instinct. Why did you not tell me? Would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was being paranoid in my old age? Rodriguez does not look at me. His eyes are tracking the same terrain Chen is watching, though he cannot see what she sees. Besides, she had her reasons for not revealing herself. Good reasons, probably. Sometimes the best operators are the ones nobody knows about. Chen is preparing for her 4th shot, 500 meters, 4 o'clock, medium elevation. This target is partially obscured by vegetation, branches, and scrub that will deflect bullets if she does not account for them. But Chen has accounted for them. She has identified the gap in the foliage, has timed her shot to the rhythm of the wind moving the branches. But before she takes the shot, something changes. She adjusts her aim. Not much, maybe 6 inches. From center mass to shoulder. Deliberate, intentional. "What is she doing?" I whisper to Rodriguez. "Watch." Chen fires. Through my binoculars, I see the vegetation shudder. Behind it, I see movement. Not a collapse, not the stillness of death, but the jerking, spasming movement of someone who has been hit but not killed, someone in pain. And then, confirming my observation, a scream cuts across the valley. High, agonized, unmistakably human. The sound of a man who has just been shot and knows he is badly wounded. The scream reveals everything. Position, exact location. And more than that, it provokes reaction from the other enemies. I see muzzle flashes from 2 positions that were invisible before. Enemy snipers breaking cover to check on their wounded teammate. "She did that on purpose," Brooks breathes over the radio. "She missed on purpose." "No," Chen says calmly, already tracking her real targets. "I hit exactly what I aimed for. I needed him to scream. Now I know where the last 3 are." 5th shot. The wounded enemy, center mass this time, mercy after information. The screaming stops. 4 down, 3 remaining. 6th shot, 530 meters, 5 o'clock high. One of the enemies who broke cover to check on their wounded teammate. He dies before he can return to concealment. 5 down, 2 remaining. I am staring at Chen with a mixture of awe and something else. Horror, maybe. Not at what she is doing, but at the calculated coldness of it. The willingness to inflict pain for tactical advantage. The ability to wound intentionally, use that wound as bait, and then execute with surgical precision. This is not the work of someone who hesitates. This is not the work of someone carrying doubt. But I saw her hesitate on that first shot. I saw something in her that was not pure professional execution. And then I understand she is fighting something, some internal battle that goes beyond the immediate tactical situation. Some ghost that whispers to her between shots, making each trigger pull a victory over something dark inside her. The 2 remaining enemy snipers have finally realized they are overmatched. They are breaking contact, trying to exfiltrate before they become casualties 6 and 7. It is the smart play, the only play, really, when you are facing someone who has systematically dismantled your entire team in less than 5 minutes. But Chen is not letting them go. Cannot let them go because they have seen our faces, know our unit, can report our presence and capabilities to whoever hired them. Because survivors mean reinforcements. Because in this kind of warfare, you finish what you start or you pay for it later. The 7th shot requires something I have not seen from her yet. Real decision-making, real moral weight. 700 meters, 730 low. This is the longest shot of the engagement, complicated by the fact that the target is partially defilated behind a terrain feature. Chen can see his head and shoulders. Nothing else. The body is protected by the earth itself. In most tactical doctrines, you do not take this shot. Too much risk of a miss. Too much chance of wounding instead of killing. Too much probability that you will reveal your position without neutralizing the threat. But Chen's face has changed. The professional mask has cracked. I see something underneath now, something that looks like pain. She closes her eyes for just a moment, and in that moment, I see her somewhere else. Not here, not now, but in another place, another time, facing another impossible choice. When she opens her eyes, they are wet, but her hands are steady. She takes the shot. The bullet arcs across the valley, fighting wind, fighting gravity, following a parabolic trajectory that takes it below my line of sight for most of its flight before reappearing in the final 50 meters. The math required for this shot is beyond my comprehension. The skill required is beyond most snipers I have ever known. The enemy's head snaps back. He drops out of sight behind the terrain feature that was protecting his body. Headshot at 700 meters on a partially concealed target. 6 down, 1 remaining. But the cost of that shot is written on Chen's face. Whatever wall she had built to protect herself from the emotional weight of killing has cracked. I see tears tracking down through the dust on her cheeks. Silent, controlled, but present. "Chen," Rodriguez says quietly, "you okay?" "No," she replies, her voice thick. "But I will be, after." She is already tracking the last enemy. He is young, I realize, watching him through my optics. Younger than the others, less experienced. The one who probably got assigned to this contract because he needed the money, needed the experience, needed to prove himself to the older men who ran the team. Now those older men are dead and he is alone, and he has stopped being a predator and become prey. He stops moving, freezes in place, hoping that absolute stillness will save him, that if he does not move, he will not be seen, that Chen will lose track of him among the rocks and shadows. Chen knows exactly where he is. She has been tracking him since the beginning, but she does not shoot, not immediately. She is looking at him through the scope, seeing something that the rest of us cannot see. "Chen," I call softly. "Confirm target?" She does not respond for a long moment. When she does speak, her voice is barely audible. "Somalia 6 months ago." The words are not for me. They are for herself, or for someone who is not here. Someone from that other place, that other time. The ghost I saw flickering behind her eyes. My team was ambushing an Al-Shabaab convoy. I had overwatch. Perfect position, perfect conditions. I could see everything. Her finger is on the trigger, but she has not applied pressure yet. The target is still alive, still frozen, still hoping. The convoy commander was my primary target. High value. Intelligence said he was responsible for attacks that killed 30 civilians, women, children, whole families. Her voice cracked slightly. I had the shot, perfect. 800 meters, no wind, no complications. She takes a breath, steadies herself. And then a child ran into my field of fire. Boy, maybe 7 years old, running across the street at exactly the wrong moment. And I had to choose. Take the shot through the child to get the target, or hold fire and watch the convoy escape. Rodriguez has gone very still beside me. He understands now. We both understand. I held fire. 2 seconds, just 2 seconds, while the child cleared my line of sight. But 2 seconds was enough. The convoy commander saw movement, saw my teammate in a secondary position. Open fire. My teammate died because I hesitated, because I chose to save a child who might grow up to be a terrorist over killing a man who had already murdered 30 innocents, because I was weak. She finally looks away from the scope, looks at me. Her eyes are red, but her voice is steady now. The psychological evaluation said I exhibited trauma from an impossible choice, that I was experiencing survivor guilt and moral injury, that I needed time away from operational status to process what happened. They sent me to ISA, gave me a desk, told me to analyze data instead of taking lives. She returns to the scope, finds the target again, the young Chechen contractor who is still frozen, still hoping, still alive. But they were wrong. The problem is not that I hesitated. The problem is that I was right to hesitate. That child lived. My teammate died. And I have to live with that. But I also have to live with this. Her finger finds the trigger. Because if I let this one go, he will bring back more. And more Americans will die. Maybe one of you, maybe 10, maybe 100. And I will have chosen wrong again. Chosen mercy over duty. Chosen hope over reality. She closes her eyes briefly, opens them. When she speaks again, her voice is a whisper. For Miguel Santos, for the teammate I lost in Somalia, for all the people this young man might kill if I let him walk away. She fires. The shadow moves, just a twitch, just enough to confirm the hit. Then it is still again, but this time with the permanent stillness that means the threat has been eliminated. 7 down, all threats neutralized. Chen safes her rifle, stands slowly, scanning the valley one more time with naked eyes, confirming what her scope already told her. Clear. The enemy team is dead, the ambush is over. We have survived. But the cost is written on every face. Santos dead in the dust. 3 men wounded. Jenkins barely able to breathe. And Chen standing there with tears still wet on her face, having just killed 7 men in 8 minutes while fighting her own demons between shots. Around us, the valley falls silent. The shooting has stopped. The only sounds now are the wind moving through rocks and the ragged breathing of wounded men and the distant cry of a bird that does not care about human violence. 7 shots, 7 enemy snipers dead. 8 minutes and 20 seconds elapsed from first shot to last. I look at Chen standing there in full view, no longer concerned about incoming fire because there is no more incoming fire. And I try to reconcile this person with the quiet analyst who spent 5 days with us. Try to understand how I could have been so completely wrong about someone. Try to calculate the cost of my blindness. The cost is measured in blood and named Miguel Santos. Brooks is the first to move, climbing out from behind his boulder, rifle still up but no targets left to shoot. He walks toward Chen slowly, like he is approaching something dangerous, something he does not quite trust despite having just watched it save his life. "Who are you?" he asks. His voice is rough, shaken. "Really, who are you?" Chen looks at him. The tears have dried, but the tracks remain visible through the dust on her face. Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen, Joint Special Operations Command, sniper. 43 confirmed kills before today. 50 now, assuming all 7 are confirmed when you check the bodies. "Why did you not tell us?" Murphy asks. He has emerged from cover as well, young face showing confusion and hurt. "Why let us think you were just an analyst?" "Because I was under orders to maintain cover unless circumstances required otherwise." Chen picks up her rifle, begins breaking it down for storage with the same methodical precision she does everything. "I was assigned to ISA 6 months ago after a mission went wrong. Psych evaluation recommended non-combat duty, while they decided if I was still fit for operational status. This attachment was supposed to be therapy, low stress field exposure, a chance to remember why I joined without the pressure of high-stakes operations." She gestures at the valley, at the bodies we cannot see but know are there, at Santos lying dead in the open. These circumstances definitely required otherwise. Rodriguez has moved to Santos's body. I watch as he kneels beside our fallen point man, as he closes Santos's eyes with gentle fingers, as he whispers something in Spanish that I cannot hear. It is a private moment between brothers in arms. I do not intrude. The rest of the team is emerging from cover now, checking themselves for wounds, checking each other, the automatic after-action assessment that soldiers make when the shooting stops. Carter is still down, still bleeding, his thigh wound serious, but survivable with proper treatment. Webb is conscious, his shoulder wound painful but not life-threatening. Ramirez can walk with support. Jenkins is trying to sit up, gasping through his cracked ribs, his face showing the white-knuckled determination of someone refusing to show weakness despite being in agony. We got lucky. Without Chen, we would all be dead right now, every single one of us. This would be a total loss. 8 Rangers killed in action, another intelligence failure, another lesson learned too late to matter. I walk over to where Chen is packing her rifle. She looks up as I approach, her face carefully neutral, waiting to see what I will say. "Sergeant Chen," I begin, and then stop, because what do you say to someone who just saved your entire team after you spent 5 days treating them like a burden? What words are sufficient to acknowledge that you were wrong, that your judgment was flawed, that your pride nearly got everyone killed? "Thank you" seems inadequate. "I apologize" seems insufficient. "You were right and I was wrong" is true, but does not capture the magnitude of my failure. Rodriguez saves me. He has finished his moment with Santos and has walked over to join us. "Sergeant Chen," he says formally, "on behalf of Team Blackjack 7, thank you for your service today. You honored us with your skill and saved us with your courage." Chen looks at him. Something passes between them. Some recognition that only people who have seen real combat understand. "Master Sergeant Rodriguez, I am sorry I could not save Sergeant Santos. I saw the ambush forming. I tried to warn Captain Harrison, but I was not fast enough, not clear enough. I failed him. You did not fail anyone, Rodriguez replies firmly. Miguel died because the enemy was professional and we were unlucky, and war is random and terrible. You saved the rest of us. That is not failure. That is exactly what warriors do. We protect our brothers with everything we have, even when we cannot save everyone. He extends his hand. Chen shakes it. The gesture carries weight beyond the simple contact. It is acceptance. It is respect. It is the acknowledgement that she is one of us now, truly and completely, not an attachment or a burden, but a member of the team who proved her worth in the only way that matters in combat, by keeping people alive. Brooks approaches next. He looks uncomfortable, embarrassed, like a man being forced to confront his own prejudices in public. Sergeant Chen, I owe you an apology. A big one. I was an asshole. I judged you without knowing anything about you. I assumed things based on how you looked instead of what you could do. Santos died, but the rest of us are alive because you are a better soldier than I will ever be. Sergeant Brooks, Chen replies quietly, you did not know. I chose not to tell you. And judging people based on available information is not wrong. It is human. The problem is not that you underestimated me. The problem is that I put myself in a position where underestimation was the obvious conclusion. Still, I am sorry for what I said, for what I thought, for being too stupid to see what Rodriguez saw. Apology accepted. Murphy steps forward next, and then Webb, struggling with his shoulder wound, and then Ramirez, and even Jenkins, forcing himself upright despite his cracked ribs, each of them offering thanks or apologies or both, each of them trying to process what they just witnessed, trying to reconcile their assumptions with reality. I watch this happen, and I understand that something fundamental has shifted in my team. We are not the same men who walked into this valley 4 hours ago. We have been changed by violence and loss and the revelation that capability does not always announce itself. We have learned humility. We have paid for that lesson with Santos's life, and we will carry that lesson for the rest of our lives, however long or short those lives may be. But first, we have to get out of this valley. All right, I say, forcing myself into command mode, pushing grief aside because grief is another luxury that comes later. Security perimeter. Carter needs immediate medical attention. Webb and Ramirez need treatment, but can wait. Jenkins, you are walking wounded. Stay alert. Brooks, Murphy, establish 360 security. Rodriguez, help me with Santos. Sir, Chen interrupts. Before we do anything else, we need to check the enemy positions. Collect intelligence. Document everything. Whatever brought 7 professional snipers to this valley is bigger than just us. She is right, of course. But the thought of leaving Santos's body while we search enemy positions makes my stomach turn. Rodriguez reads my face. Captain, go with Chen. I will stay with Miguel. He will not be alone. I nod, unable to speak past the tightness in my throat. Chen and I move out, weapons up, approaching the nearest enemy position with tactical caution, even though we know the threats are neutralized. The first body is exactly where Chen said it would be. 400 meters, 11 o'clock high. Chechen male, mid-30s, professional equipment, SVD Dragunov rifle with high-quality optics. He is wearing civilian clothes but carrying military-grade gear. One shot, center mass, death would have been instantaneous. We search the body, find identification, Russian military ID from 5 years ago, discharge papers, a phone with encrypted communications. Chen photographs everything with practiced efficiency. The second position yields similar results, and the third, and the fourth. By the time we have documented all 7 positions, a pattern has emerged. These men were not random contractors. They were a professional team, well-equipped, well-trained, operating with coordination that suggests extensive experience working together. The intelligence windfall is massive. Maps showing 12 different forward operating bases marked for attack. Communications logs detailing supply routes and cache locations. Photographs of American installations that should be classified. Documents with Russian military seals and Wagner Group insignia. Captain, Chen says, studying one of the maps with growing concern, this was not about us. We stumbled into something much bigger. These men were conducting reconnaissance for a major coordinated attack. Multiple FOBs simultaneously. This would have been the worst single day of casualties since Wanad in 2008. I stare at the documents spread on the ground between us. 12 bases, thousands of American soldiers. The planning here suggests months of preparation, massive resources, professional execution. Santos died, but his death disrupted an operation that could have killed hundreds, maybe thousands. That does not make his death hurt less, does not bring him back to his wife and daughters, does not change the fact that I walked him into an ambush because I was too proud to listen to warnings. But it means his death mattered. It means something came from the loss. It is not comfort exactly, but it is something. Collect everything, I order. Every document, every phone, every piece of equipment that has intelligence value. Command needs to see this immediately. We gather the material. When we return to the team, Rodriguez has prepared Santos's body with care. Wrapped in a poncho, positioned with dignity, ready for transport. I key my radio. Call for extraction. Explain the situation. Request immediate air support and medical evacuation. The response is swift. Helicopters inbound. 20 minutes to our position. 20 minutes. In combat, 20 minutes is an eternity, but we have no choice. We are committed to holding this position until extraction arrives. Chen takes up Overwatch position without being asked. If more enemies come, she will see them first. The helicopters arrive. Santos's body is loaded with honor. 6 Rangers lift him, move him with careful steps, place him aboard with gentleness that speaks of love. Rodriguez rides with him, one hand on the poncho-wrapped body, staying with his brother to the end. The rest of us load onto the second bird. Chen climbs in last. As the helicopter lifts off, I look down at the valley where Santos died, where Chen saved us, where my team learned that the quietest voice sometimes speaks the most important truth. From the air, you cannot see the blood, cannot see the bodies, cannot see the evidence of violence. But I will remember it for the rest of my life. There is a moment in every soldier's life when the abstract concept of mortality becomes concrete reality, when death stops being something that happens to other people in other places and becomes the empty boots standing at attention in front of a flag-draped coffin, when the face in the frame photograph is someone you knew, someone you laughed with, someone whose family you met and whose stories you heard and whose future you imagined. For some soldiers, that moment comes early. For others, it comes late. For the men of Team Blackjack 7, it comes 3 days after we return from Wagal Valley, standing in the chapel at Forward Operating Base Courage, staring at Miguel Santos's boots and rifle and helmet arranged in the warrior's tribute that the Army calls a fallen soldier memorial. The chapel is full, every seat occupied, personnel standing along the walls and in the doorway, because Santos was the kind of soldier everyone respected, the kind of man people wanted to know, the kind of ranger who made the Army better simply by being part of it. 20 years of service, 2 deployments to Iraq, 3 to Afghanistan, hundreds of missions, 0 disciplinary actions. A career defined by excellence and ended by a bullet in a valley that most of these people will never see. I sit in the front row with the rest of Team Blackjack 7. Rodriguez is on my right wearing his dress uniform, the ribbons on his chest telling a story of decades in places most people cannot find on a map. Brooks is on my left, uncharacteristically silent, his usual bravado replaced by the kind of stillness that comes from confronting your own mortality and realizing how close you came to being the one in the flag-draped coffin. Jenkins sits at the end of our row, moving carefully, his ribs still wrapped tight where the bullet hit his plate carrier. He insisted on attending despite medical advice to rest. Miguel would have done the same for me, he said in his quiet Arkansas drawl, and that was the end of the discussion. Chen is 3 rows back, not part of the team, technically. Still just an ISA attachment whose 2-week assignment is almost over. But she insisted on attending, and nobody objected. She has earned that right. She has earned more than that, but rights are not always acknowledged, and respect is not always spoken aloud. The chaplain speaks about sacrifice and service and the price of freedom. The words are sincere, well-meaning, probably comforting to people who did not know Santos personally, but to those of us who served with him, who walked beside him, who trusted him to go first into danger so that we could follow safely, the words feel inadequate. How do you capture a man's life in 20 minutes of carefully chosen phrases? How do you explain what it meant to serve with someone who made you better simply by example? You cannot, but you try anyway because trying is all we have. General Morrison speaks next. The FOB commander, 2 stars on his collar, a career that spans conflicts from the first Gulf War to the present. He talks about Santos's record, his awards, his reputation as one of the best point men in the Ranger Regiment. He talks about the intelligence collected from the Valley, the Wagner Group network disrupted, the American lives saved by Santos's final mission. He talks about how one man's sacrifice rippled outward to protect hundreds, maybe thousands. It is true, all of it. The documents we recovered from the dead contractors led to a coordinated operation that rolled up an entire cell of foreign fighters, disrupted supply networks, prevented what could have been the deadliest day for American forces in years. Santos's death mattered strategically. It had tactical value. It contributed to mission success. But none of that brings him back to his daughters. Rodriguez stands to speak. As the senior enlisted member of the team, as Santos's friend for 10 years, as the man who closed Miguel's eyes in the dust of Wagal Valley, he has earned this moment. He walks to the podium slowly, his 48 years showing in the careful way he climbs the 2 steps, the slight hesitation before he turns to face the assembled soldiers. For a long moment, he says nothing, just looks at the memorial, at the boots that will never walk another patrol, at the rifle that will never fire another round, at the helmet that will never again protect the head of a man who went first so others could be safe. When Rodriguez finally speaks, his voice carries the weight of decades and the grief of losing too many brothers over too many years in too many forgotten places. Miguel Santos was my brother. For 10 years we fought together. We walked the same paths, ate the same dust, faced the same dangers. I watched him grow from a young sergeant eager to prove himself into one of the finest Rangers I have ever known. I watched him become a husband, a father, a leader. I watched him put the safety of others ahead of his own safety, day after day, mission after mission, until the day that choice cost him everything. Rodriguez pauses, collects himself, continues. Miguel died doing what Rangers do. He went first. He took the risk. He walked points so that others could follow with confidence. He died in a valley that most people will never hear about, in a war that has gone on so long that many people have forgotten we are still fighting it. He died doing a job that gets no parades, no headlines, no recognition beyond the men who served beside him. Another pause, longer this time. But Miguel did not do this job for parades or headlines. He did it because he believed in something larger than himself. He believed in protecting his brothers. He believed in serving his country. He believed in being the kind of man his daughters could be proud of when they were old enough to understand what their father did and why he did it. Rodriguez's voice cracks slightly. He steadies himself. Miguel leaves behind a wife who loved him and 2 daughters who will grow up without their father. No words can make that acceptable. No honor can replace what they have lost. But I want his daughters to know this. I want them to understand this when they are old enough to hear it. Your father was a warrior, not because he carried a rifle or wore a uniform, but because he had the courage to walk toward danger so that others would not have to. Because he valued the lives of his brothers more than his own comfort, his own safety, his own future. He looks directly at the photograph of Santos. Young face, bright smile, alive. Miguel, brother, I will miss you every day. I will remember every story, every laugh, every moment we shared. I will visit your daughters when I can and tell them about their father. I will make sure they know that you died with honor, protecting the men you led, serving the country you loved. And I promise you this, I will make sure that what you taught us is not forgotten, that the example you set continues to guide us, that your sacrifice matters not just strategically but personally, in how we treat each other, how we serve, how we live the lives you died protecting. Rodriguez salutes the memorial, holds it longer than regulation requires, returns to his seat with careful steps, his eyes wet, his jaw tight. I am supposed to speak next, as Santos's commanding officer, as the leader of Team Blackjack 7, as the man whose decisions led to Miguel's death. I have written a speech, rehearsed it, revised it multiple times trying to find words that capture what needs to be said. But when I stand at the podium, looking at those boots, looking at the assembled soldiers, looking at my team who survived because Sarah Chen saved us after I led us into an ambush, the prepared words die in my throat. What comes out instead is truth. Sergeant First Class Miguel Santos died because I made mistakes, because I was too proud to listen to the counsel of my most experienced NCO, because I allowed my own judgment to override warnings from multiple sources, because I assumed I knew better than the people I should have been listening to. The chapel is completely silent. This is not the eulogy they expected. Commanders are not supposed to confess failures at memorials. We are supposed to talk about honor and sacrifice and the nobility of service. We are supposed to make death seem meaningful and heroic and somehow worth the cost. But I am done with supposed to. I ignored Master Sergeant Rodriguez when he told me the mission felt wrong. I ignored intelligence analyst assessments that suggested increased enemy activity in the area. I ignored Staff Sergeant Chen when she identified the valley as a kill zone and recommended we abort. I ignored all of this because I was confident in my own abilities, because Team Blackjack 7 had completed 127 missions without losing a man, because I thought luck and skill were the same thing. I pause, force myself to continue. Miguel Santos paid for my arrogance with his life. He walked point because that was his job, because he was good at it, because he trusted me to make sound tactical decisions. He trusted me, and I failed him. No amount of intelligence collected, no matter how many lives were saved downstream, no strategic victory can change the fact that I sent a good man to his death because I was too proud to admit I might be wrong. The words hang in the air, brutal, honest, unvarnished. But Miguel's death taught me something. It taught all of us something. It taught us that capability does not always announce itself, that the quietest voice sometimes speaks the most important truth, that underestimating people based on appearance or rank or any factor other than their actual competence is not just wrong, it is dangerous. It gets people killed. I look at Chen sitting 3 rows back, her face carefully neutral. Staff Sergeant Chen tried to warn us multiple times. She identified prepared fighting positions that I dismissed. She assessed the tactical situation correctly when I did not. She recognized the danger that I was too blind to see. And when the ambush was sprung, when Miguel was dead and my team was being destroyed, she stepped forward and demonstrated capabilities that none of us knew she possessed. She saved us, all of us. She made sure that Miguel's death was not followed by 7 more. I turned back to the memorial. Miguel, I am sorry. I failed you as a commander. I failed to protect you. I failed to listen to the people who could have prevented this. I will carry that failure for the rest of my life. But I promise you this, I will learn from it. I will become a better leader. I will never again let pride override judgment. I will honor your memory by making sure that the lesson your death taught us continues to guide how I lead, how I listen, how I value every soldier under my command, regardless of how they present themselves. I salute the memorial, hold it, return to my seat. The chaplain looks uncertain, like he is not sure whether to continue with the program or address what just happened. But before he can speak, Chen stands up. She walks to the podium without asking permission, without being invited, simply moving with the same calm authority she brought to everything else. When she reaches the front, she looks at the memorial for a long moment, then turns to face the assembled soldiers. I did not know Sergeant Santos well. 5 days is not long, but I watched him lead. I watched him move with confidence born from years of experience. I watched him check on his teammates, joke with the youngest soldiers, defer to Master Sergeant Rodriguez's wisdom, even though Miguel was an experienced operator in his own right. I watched him video call his daughters and promise them he would come home soon. Her voice is steady but not cold. There is emotion there, carefully controlled but present. My uncle died 40 years ago in Vietnam. Captain James Chen, Special Forces, sniper. He held overwatch for a platoon extraction, killed 11 enemy soldiers, and took a bullet meant for someone else. He died so that 20 men could live. My father talked about him every year on the anniversary of his death. Talked about how some men are born to be warriors. How some men understand that protecting others is the highest calling. How some men walk toward danger so that others do not have to. She looks at Rodriguez, then at me, then back to the memorial. Sergeant Santos was one of those men. He walked point for 10 years because someone had to go first, and he was willing to be that someone. He died in that tradition. That lineage of warriors who understand that service means sacrifice. That leadership means taking risks others cannot take. That family means the men beside you as much as the family at home. Chen pauses. When she continues, her voice is softer but carries more weight. I failed to save him. I saw the ambush forming. I identified the threat. But I was not fast enough, not clear enough in my warning, not insistent enough when my assessment was dismissed. I have spent 3 days asking myself what I could have done differently, whether speaking up sooner would have mattered, whether breaking my cover earlier could have prevented his death, whether the hesitation I carried from Somalia cost another good man his life. She looks directly at me. Captain Harrison, you blame yourself for not listening. I blame myself for not making you listen. We can both carry that weight. Or we can choose to honor Sergeant Santos by learning from what happened, by becoming better at our jobs, by making sure that his death teaches us to trust capability over appearance, to listen to warnings regardless of source, to understand that the person standing quietly in the background might be the most important person in the room. She turns back to the memorial one final time. Sergeant Santos, I did not know you well, but I know what you represented. Courage, leadership, sacrifice, the willingness to go first so others could be safe. You died protecting your team. In return, I made sure your team survived. 7 enemy combatants who wanted more Americans dead. 7 men who will never kill another soldier. I did that for you, because you deserved that protection, because your death deserved that meaning. Rangers lead the way. You led us all. She salutes, holds it, returns to her seat. The memorial continues. Prayers are said. A rifle salute is fired outside, the sharp cracks echoing across the fob. Taps plays, that mournful melody that has marked military funerals since the Civil War. 24 notes that somehow contain all the grief and pride and loss that words cannot express. Santos's flag-draped coffin is carried out by 6 Rangers who move with synchronized precision, born from practice and purpose. Rodriguez walks beside the coffin, one hand resting on the flag, staying with his friend to the end. The rest of us follow in formation, a long line of soldiers paying their last respects to a brother who will not walk beside us again. Later, after the memorial, after the coffin has been loaded onto a transport that will carry Santos back to the United States, back to his wife and daughters, back to a funeral with a folded flag and a grateful nation's condolences, I find myself alone in my quarters trying to write a report that explains what happened. The tactical after-action review is straightforward. Enemy ambush, 7 Chechen contractors, 1 KIA, 3 wounded, intelligence collected, strategic victory, mission success despite casualties. But the leadership assessment is harder. How do I write that I ignored warnings? That my pride contributed to a soldier's death? That I failed in my most basic duty to protect the men under my command? Rodriguez knocks on my door. Captain, we need to talk. He sits down without waiting for an invitation. I know what you are doing, I know what you are thinking, and I am telling you, as someone who has been carrying the weight of command for longer than you have been in the Army, that you need to stop. Stop? Miguel is dead because of my decisions. Miguel is dead because 7 Chechen contractors ambushed us. Because war is chaos and violence and random chance. Because no matter how good you are, no matter how careful you are, sometimes people die. That is the nature of combat. I ignored warnings. Yes, you did. And that was wrong. And you will learn from it. And you will be a better leader because of it. Rodriguez leans forward. But drowning in guilt does not honor Miguel. What honors Miguel is learning the lesson his death taught us and using that lesson to save others in the future. He stands to leave, then pauses. One more thing, Captain. Staff Sergeant Chen. She saved us. All of us. What are you going to do about that? What do you mean? I mean, she is scheduled to return to Bagram tomorrow. Her 2-week attachment is over. After that, she goes back to whatever desk job ECA has her doing. Back to being underutilized. Back to having her skills wasted because some psychological evaluation 6 months ago said she needed non-combat duty. That is not my decision to make. Actually, sir, it is. You are writing the after-action report. You are documenting what happened. You have the authority to recommend her for operational status. To put in writing that she is not only fit for combat, but essential to it. Rodriguez opens the door. Miguel died, but Chen made sure the rest of us lived. That should mean something. He leaves. I stare at the report. Start typing. The report takes 4 hours. I document everything. The warnings I ignored, the ambush, the casualties, the intelligence windfall, and Sarah Chen's actions that turned potential catastrophe into strategic victory. I recommend her for the Silver Star, for valor in combat, for actions above and beyond the call of duty. I also recommend immediate return to operational status. I write that any psychological evaluation that keeps Chen off the battlefield is wasting one of the most valuable assets in special operations. I write the truth, all of it, including my failures, including the cost, including the lesson Miguel Santos's death taught us. When I am done, I send the report up the chain of command. 3 days later, Chen appears at my door with new orders. Return to JSOC, operational status restored, additional duty as instructor at Special Operations Target Interdiction Course. Congratulations, I say. Thank you, sir, for the recommendation, for the report, for telling the truth even when it reflected poorly on yourself. It was the least I could do. Chen is quiet for a moment. Captain, may I speak freely? Always. What happened in that valley was not your fault alone. We all made choices. I could have been more insistent. Rodriguez could have refused to proceed. Any of us could have done something different. But we did not, because we trusted you, because you are a good leader who made one bad call, because even good leaders are human and humans make mistakes. She extends her hand. Your Rangers are good soldiers. They just need to learn that capability does not always announce itself. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the valley is the quiet one, taking notes and carrying a heavy pack. I shake her hand. If you ever need anything, you will never see me again, Lieutenant. That is how JSOC works. We appear when needed, do the then disappear. But if our paths cross again, try to remember this conversation before you make assumptions. She walks away toward a helicopter waiting to extract her. I watch her go. This woman who saved my team through marksmanship that seemed impossible right up until she demonstrated it. 10 years pass. I stand in classroom Delta 7 at Fort Benning, Georgia in the year 2029. Colonel Jake Harrison now. 42 years old, gray at temples, 20 years of service behind me. The students lean forward as I finish the story. Young faces, Ranger candidates, the best of the best, or so they believe. And that is how we learned that the best soldier I ever served with was someone we completely failed to recognize. A student raises her hand. Sir, what happened to everyone? Where are they now? I smile. Master Sergeant Rodriguez retired after 30 years. Lives in Texas. 9 grandchildren. We visit Miguel's grave together every year. I pull up photos. Faces they have been seeing throughout the story. Older now, but recognizable. Sergeant Major Brooks. Retired last year. Teaches leadership at a community college. Says Miguel taught him humility and Chen taught him to listen. Next photo. Captain Murphy. Commands his own Ranger company. Named his son Miguel. Next photo. Sergeant First Class Carter. Retired. Trauma surgeon in Atlanta. Says saving Miguel's teammates made him realize he wanted to spend his life keeping people alive. Next photo. Staff Sergeant Jenkins. He recovered from his cracked ribs and served another 8 years. Retired in 2027, runs a gun range in Arkansas now, teaches marksmanship to civilians, and tells every student about the best shot he ever saw, a 5'4" woman who killed 7 enemy snipers in 8 minutes to save his life. I pause before the next photo. Sergeant First Class Miguel Santos is buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Section 60, his wife visits every week. His daughters, now 20 and 18 years old, visit every month. Next image, 2 young women in Army uniforms. Miguel's oldest daughter graduated from West Point last year, 2nd Lieutenant Maria Santos, headed to Ranger School, wants to honor his legacy by serving others. The classroom is silent. As for Staff Sergeant Chen, she returned to JSOC, spent 8 more years in the field, 20 more confirmed kills. Master Sergeant Chen now teaches advanced sniper techniques right here at Fort Benning, has trained over 800 snipers. I look at the door, it opens. Master Sergeant Sarah Chen walks in. 38 years old, more ribbons than most colonels. She stands beside me. Master Sergeant Chen, thank you for joining us. My pleasure, Colonel Harrison. She looks at the students. I understand the colonel has been telling you about Wagal Valley. Heads nod. Good, because I wanted to add one more thing. Miguel Santos died because good men made honest mistakes. Because Captain Harrison, who was an excellent leader, made one bad call. Because I, who saw the danger, did not communicate clearly enough. Because we are all human and humans are fallible. She walks to the first row. You, what is your name? Private Jensen, Master Sergeant. Private Jensen, when you get your Ranger tab and you are leading soldiers and you make a mistake that costs lives, what will you do? Jensen stammers. I do not know, Master Sergeant. You will learn from it. You will carry it. You will let it make you better. But you will not let it destroy you. because your soldiers need you functional, not broken. She returns to stand beside me. One more thing. The lesson about respecting quiet professionals is important, but here's the deeper truth. Miguel Santos was not quiet. He was loud, friendly, outgoing. Everyone knew Miguel, and he died anyway. Chen's voice softens. The real lesson is about seeing people for who they actually are instead of who you assume they are. It is about listening to what people say instead of filtering it through your preconceptions. It is about understanding that capability comes in all packages, and your job as leaders is to recognize it, trust it, and use it effectively. She looks at me. Colonel Harrison failed that test once. Miguel died, but the colonel learned. He became a better leader. He has spent 10 years teaching others what Miguel's death taught him. That is legacy. That is how we honor the fallen. A student in the back raises his hand. Master Sergeant, do you ever regret not revealing yourself earlier? Chen is quiet for a long moment. I regret many things about that day, but I cannot know what would have happened if I had made different choices. We can torture ourselves with what-ifs forever, or we can accept that we made the best decisions we could with the information we had. That tragedy occurred anyway because war is chaos, and that the only thing we can control is how we move forward. She turns to leave, then stops. One last thing. When you graduate Ranger School, when you take command of soldiers and lead them into danger, remember this? Your job is not to be perfect. Your job is to be present, to listen, to adapt, to learn, to protect your people with everything you have, even when everything you have is not enough. She leaves. The students sit in silence. I give them that silence. Let them absorb. Let them understand that leadership is about people, about trust, about the willingness to admit when you are wrong and the courage to be better. Class dismissed, except you, Private Jensen. Stay behind. The others file out. Jensen remains nervous. Jensen, why did you ask Master Sergeant Chen that question? Sir, my father was a platoon leader in Iraq, 2006. He made a call that got 2 of his soldiers killed. He came home. But not really. He is still there in his head, still replaying that day. I sit down next to Jensen. Your father carry any physical scars? No, sir. Then his wounds are invisible, which makes them harder to treat. I pause. Jensen, what happened to your father happens to a lot of commanders. The weight of command breaks some people, but it does not have to. We learn, we carry, we become better. That is how we honor the fallen. How do I make sure I do not end up like my father? By understanding that mistakes are inevitable, that perfection is impossible, that the goal is not to never lose anyone. The goal is to make decisions for the right reasons, to learn from outcomes, and to become better because of what you experienced. Jensen nods. Thank you, sir. He leaves. I remain in the classroom alone looking at the photos on the screen. My team, 10 years ago. Rodriguez, wise even then. Brooks, cocky and loud. Murphy, eager and green. Carter, Webb, Ramirez, Jenkins, all alive because Chen saved us. Santos, smiling, about to walk into his last mission. I think about legacy, about becoming better, about using what their deaths taught us to protect others. I think about Miguel's daughter at West Point, carrying forward a tradition of service that transcends individual lives. I think about Rodriguez, retired in Texas, teaching his grandchildren about honor and sacrifice. I think about Brooks mellowing into wisdom, Murphy naming his son Miguel, Carter saving lives as a surgeon, Jenkins teaching marksmanship in Arkansas. And I think about Sarah Chen, walking these halls, teaching new snipers, passing on skills that will save lives she will never know about. The wolf, still watching over the flock. I turn off the projector, gather my notes. But before I go, I do what I have done every day for 10 years. I pull out my phone, find the photo I keep there. Team Blackjack 7, 8 men and 1 woman who saved us all. Standing in front of a helicopter at FOB Courage. Miguel Santos in the center, 1 arm around Rodriguez, 1 arm around Brooks, grinning like he has not a care in the world. Taken 6 hours before he died. I close the phone, walk outside into Georgia sun. Somewhere in Arlington, Miguel Santos rests. Somewhere in Texas, Rodriguez tells stories. Somewhere at this base, Chen teaches young snipers. And here, I teach the lesson Miguel's death burned into my soul. Listen to quiet voices. Respect capability regardless of packaging. Learn from mistakes. Honor the fallen by protecting the living. Carry the weight without letting it break you. Lead with humility. Serve with honor. Rangers lead the way. Miguel led us all. And 10 years later, we are still following where he went first. Into danger, into service, into the kind of life that demands everything and gives back only the knowledge that you stood for something larger than yourself. It is enough. It has to be enough. Because it is all we have. Warriors, brothers, sisters, protectors. The quiet professionals who serve without recognition, who fight without glory, who die without fanfare. But who matter? Every single one. Always. The end.